You sent the last text, and the one before that, and the one before that. One day, mid-type, you just closed the app, deleted the draft, put the phone face down, and that was it. No dramatic speech, no confrontation, no goodbye. You just quietly became someone who stopped. And here's what nobody tells you. That moment wasn't weakness. That was your brain finally doing the math. If psychology genuinely fascinates you, hit subscribe. We break down human behavior in ways that actually make sense. Like this video if you want more. Here's something most people carry but never say out loud. There is a scoreboard in your head. You didn't create it consciously, but it's been running for years. Who texts first? Who checks in? Who remembers the little things? And for a long time, you were fine with being ahead on the scoreboard because caring about people felt natural to you. But your brain is not actually wired for one-sided effort indefinitely. Psychologist Shelley Taylor at UCLA studied what happens to people who are wired to take care of others, people who respond to stress not by fighting or fleeing, but by nurturing and connecting. She called it the tend and befriend response. Here's the catch nobody talks about, though. That system needs fuel. It needs something coming back. When it runs in one direction for too long, it doesn't just slow down, it shuts down entirely. So when you stopped texting first, your brain wasn't being petty. It was running out of gas on a road that was going nowhere. This one is wild, and it genuinely changes how you look at social pain. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study where participants were placed in a brain scanner and asked to play a simple ball-tossing game with two other players. At some point, the other players just stopped including them. No argument, no reason, just exclusion. The brain scan results? The region that activated, the anterior cingulate cortex, is the exact same region that fires when you experience physical pain, like actual stub your toe, break your arm pain. Your brain does not distinguish between a fractured wrist and being left on red. To your nervous system, both are threats worth protecting against. So every unanswered text, every one-sided effort, every time you showed up and got nothing back, your brain filed that away, not as a memory, as an injury. And injuries teach you not to put your hand back on the stove. Psychiatrist John Bowlby spent decades studying how early relationships shape every connection we have afterward. And what he found was uncomfortable for a lot of people. Some people develop what he called an avoidant attachment style, not because they're cold or detached, but because early on, reaching out stopped feeling safe. Maybe you called out for someone as a kid and nobody came. Maybe you needed reassurance and got silence instead. Maybe you showed emotion and got told you were too much. Your brain built a rule. Reaching out means getting hurt. And rules built that early don't just disappear, they run quietly in the background of every relationship you have as an adult. You didn't become someone who stops reaching out on purpose. That pattern was wired in before you even knew what a pattern was. There's an actual psychological term for this, alexithymia. It comes from Greek and it literally translates to no words for emotions. People who have this, and way more people do than you'd think, don't feel nothing. They actually feel a lot. The problem is the translation layer between feeling something and being able to say it out loud is either very weak or completely missing. So when someone asks if you're okay and you say, "I'm fine," that's not always a lie. Sometimes it's the only word available. And when you can't name what you're feeling, you can't ask for what you need. So instead, you go quiet. You pull back. You stop texting first, not because the connection stopped mattering, but because you lost the language to keep it alive. This is probably the most important thing in this entire video. When people go quiet, pull back, or stop initiating, it looks the same from the outside. But internally, there are two completely different things happening. The first is a conscious boundary. You feel clear-headed. You made a decision. You're protecting your energy because you finally know what you're worth. The second is an involuntary shutdown. You feel numb, disconnected. Your body made the call before your brain even caught up. One is autonomy. The other is survival mode. Psychologists studying self-determination theory found that humans have three core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness, belonging. Most people assume that someone who stops reaching out has given up on belonging entirely, But that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is they're reclaiming autonomy. They're finally asking who actually deserves my energy instead of handing it out to anyone who shows up. That's not isolation, that's discernment. And discernment, honestly, that's growth. So here's where it all lands. You didn't stop texting first because something broke in you. You stopped because your nervous system kept score even when you were pretending not to, because your brain logged every ignored message as a small injury, because somewhere along the way, you learned that reaching out was risky, and that lesson never fully left. You didn't stop caring, you stopped performing care for people who couldn't be bothered to notice. And maybe that's not a loss. Maybe that's the first honest thing you've done for yourself in a long time. Now I'm genuinely curious, are you someone who stopped reaching out, or are you someone who only realized this video was describing you halfway through? Drop it in the comments. No judgment, just real conversation.